Okay. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's it, because that, oh, I know he had talked to me. But I'm on the.
Deal with Carol.
I said, I didn't know what you said. I said, I'm not reading. Not reading nothing.
You need to bring it behind to the meeting.
Yeah, that's that. And you know, I said, no, I'm not. That's what I said, it's like, you just see that at the. I'm not going outside needing no people.
Well, if you want to ride with medical reasons for not being here, that's him.
Like I said, it doesn't even make sense. And I told him I'm not into it.
You can't play a part of it. You can't play a part of the role just
It's manipulation. Agenda. I didn't get an agenda. I got everything but an agenda.
Yeah, that's it.
This is not the real agenda, is it? This is the
Is that here? You got one like that?
yeah, just the real agenda.
Mm-hmm. They just been over with.
Okay, yeah, okay.
6. Yeah, 6.
Oh, okay. Now, what threw me was this was all on the back. That's why I couldn't get. I was thinking that these would last. I said,
They're being
oh,
just stood to the paper.
that is very good. Because you can use, or you can kill a whole bunch of, wherever they get this paper from, you can get kill a bunch of trees. A whole bunch of trees. I just realized that it was negative. Did it go back that way?
Yes. PMC. PMC. I need to sign it? No, just after it's voted on.
It's 6 o'clock, 6:03. Good evening. We're now officially called to order. At this time, we will have an invocation.
Every head bow. Our Father in heaven, we thank you again for this gracious privilege to be here in this place, the place where the people gather for governance. And we ask that you would guide our thoughts and minds, and that you would give us consensus in the things that truly matter, and help us that we might make the best decisions in the interest of all that are involved in this great city. This we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
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 Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anything? Good evening, everyone. So glad that you could join us this evening. We know that you took out of your time to be here, and we do appreciate it, that you care about your city, and we're here to do the best that we can. So at this time, with the recognition of the visitors, do we have any comments from the council? We don't. I mean, from the council, I'm sorry, from the audience of the council. And at that time, now it brings us up to item 1, approval of minutes, regular session, October 16, 2023, and special sessions, ooh, I get those S, October 23, 2023.
Mayor, Council, I recommend, I motion that we go ahead and accept the minutes as is.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to Item number 2, under Business Cities Administrator, update on the status of the charter revision.
Mayor and council, I have a little report in front of you. There's been some updates to the Charter Commission. We met with our first meeting last Monday and gave them an update on this process on the revision. In short, we felt like it was needed to give a quick explanation of the reason for the temporary halt in the process for the benefit of the public and everyone involved. The city of Crockett, along with the majority of home rule cities, are of the council manager form of government. Council appoints and hires a manager. The manager executes and operates the city. If he does a good job, he's told so. If he does a bad job, he's addressed. Normally that also involves the city manager is the one that hires and fires police chief, fire chief, and all other city officials under him. Usually, council manager form of governments, the only ones that are appointed by council are city attorneys, the city administrator, and sometimes the city secretary. Some of the more key officials that are involved in policy. The rest of them they execute as required by council. So that's the majority of council manager cities. That is not how we operate. Our consultant recommended revising the charter provision that relates to the council's authority to nominate and appoint certain city officials. The city attorney and I communicated to our consultant that this recommendation would not be supported by council, myself, and likely not even the voters. The existing provision of the police chief reports to council, it's established, and it's accepted by our community and council. The position and recommendations of our consultant was that this recommendation should be insisted upon and taken to council and the voters. I felt that would result in a delay of several months of a charter revision process that would ultimately end up to council and fail due to the very basic structure of the rest of the revisions being based off of some of those primary provisions. He was not open to other option, and he expressed his intent to step down as our consultant based on that finding. We came out, we did meet, we opened the meeting, thanked the commission. We had full attendance by our commission. Everyone was there, ready to go to work, and very, very appreciative on my part, on the city's part, of their commitment to this process. And so there it was told that we will go out and be seeking for a consultant, someone that could come alongside us and work with us and this commission in building this charter. And what I told him is that we should seek a consultant that makes recommendations based on best practices and statutory guidance, but not to require certain decisions if it doesn't come with a statutory requirement, such as who the fire and police chief is hired and fired by. So that was just a quick update. If there's any council questions or anything on that.
Well, I'd just like to say, and to piggyback on what you said, John, that the revision is very important for us to get it done. We've talked about it and sort of kicked the can down the road somewhere, and now it is incumbent upon us to get it done. And so Mr. Edmond was consulted with to help us. He was willing, but I guess in my estimation, as I see it, he had a one-shoe-fit-all, so to speak. This has been working all of my career and with many other cities, and so now I'll apply this to Crockett, and this is what you should take. my advice in the matter and make these changes. And as the administrator had already indicated, that the city administrator is not responsible for the hiring and firing of our police chief, neither our fire chief. And so that was a sticking point for Mr. Edmond, and he just felt like that if we weren't willing to take that advice and make those changes, what we have is not broken in the sense of to force us to fix it. And so it didn't sit well with him, so he decided to bail out, and so we're back at square one looking for another consultant to help us in that effort.
You say we don't need a dictator?
No.
And someone to come along and aside of us and help us in this.
Well, we do appreciate the search and what he offered, but like you say, you wanted to make sure that it fitted our city and that we didn't waste a lot of time doing unnecessary stuff. So at that point, does anyone else have any comments on it? Okay, that brings us to item number 3. Consider and approve a resolution to cast votes for the Board of Directors for Houston County Appraisal District. We have it in our packet.
Mayor and council, the nominations were made, and you have the 5 candidates for the Board of Directors. City Council can appoint or distribute their votes. We have 426 votes for this Board of Directors. You can evenly distribute them if you wish. Ultimately, there's no other candidates being nominated, so however council votes at this time, those are the only nominations. Or you can assign it to individual members, however you wish.
So we can split all the votes amongst these 5, or we can give all the votes to one.
Either or just to 2 or to 3.
But you got several here that's not
City, right.
So, okay, I know there's one
To my understanding, there's only 2 that are
city.
city, Kathy Calvert and Mr. Red Kitchen.
Okay, I make a motion, we put our votes to Kathy and Mr. Kitchen,
Split evenly?
split evenly
Okay.
with them, yes.
That's 213 votes per person.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any discussion? It's moved in second. All in favor? Motion carries. Find my way back home. Okay, that brings us to item number 4. I think it was some consideration given to that.
Mayor and council, it's, there's been a couple discussions on that, and I would request that
I would
council-
just like to know a little bit more about it
Yeah.
before we jump into it, so
I would request council to make a motion
if we
to,
could table it
Table
until
the
next
item.
meeting, just to know, I mean, I
Okay. Well, if you would like to make the motion?
make a motion, we table it until the next council meeting, until somebody can come explain what's going on.
Okay. Can we get a second?
I second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor? Okay, motion carries. The item will be tabled until the next meeting. Okay, item number 5, discussion of police department fleet and financing options.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Administrator. So back at the September 5th meeting, we talked about going out and seeking proposals for adding additional new vehicles to our fleet. Back in February, we ordered 3 2023 Dodge Durangos, and we just got those vehicles in early or last week. It took them some time to get them done and the parts to come in. So the city administrator and I talked several times throughout the last couple of weeks about the best way to work this and not hit the city with such a large financial burden right off the bat. In some of the sheets you'll see some of our plans and our goals are to adequately build a fleet of dependable vehicles for the department, manage that fleet and maintain the most life out of those vehicles that we can, and to provide financing options that best suit the city of Crockett for life of the initial financial burden. We've seen last time these vehicles are not cheap. The vehicles are not cheap, the equipment's not cheap. So I know it's a large financial burden on the city, especially all at one time. Our recommendation, what the city administrator and I have talked about, is possible financing options, utilizing, like you said, the tax note, if I can say that correctly. So our recommendation was to purchase 4 additional new vehicles, Dodge Durango, the ones like we just got. Instead of sending those vehicles to a police upfitter, we would purchase the equipment for those vehicles from an independent supplier, utilize our city maintenance shop to install that equipment. In doing that, that's going to save us about $12,000 per unit. The average cost for these upfitters to equip these vehicles is roughly $23,000 to $24,000. We can pretty much cut that down to equipment costs and the time that our city mechanic is already on duty and working. I spoke with him about it. He feels confident that he can get that done in a timely fashion and not no other city services or departments suffer from that. I think he's very qualified and capable of doing it. In fact, he works on a lot of our issues that we have now. And our recommendation was to do this over a 3 to 4 year period. And I know we've talked before about replacing every year. Well, if we do this for 3 years, you know, if we continue to replace every year, that's just more we're adding up. Something to think about prior to this, the vehicle that we were using already had lots of miles on it. If we're able to do this, that'll put 5, at least, or 6 actually, brand new vehicles in our patrol fleet with less than 500 miles. It will also allow us to give each one of those vehicles 12 to 24 hours off and not run constantly. Right now, our vehicles are sometimes running 24, 48 hours straight, and that puts a lot of wear and tear on the engines, thus higher maintenance costs, and so it just, it's tough on the vehicle. I did reach out to 3 different financial institutions, Government Capital, Lovelady State Bank, and Crockett Bank. Their rates varied. I felt like their rates were pretty high as far as their interest rates. Lovelady required 15% down, and I did not receive one back from Crockett, so the other one was Government Capital, which they specialize in financing options. But as Mr. Angerstein talked to me, he felt it would be better and lighten the burden on the city if he done that through a tax note. And he has more detail about that as far as that financial side, and I'll let him explain that more.
So essentially, a tax note will allow us to get a little bit more competitive bids instead of a financing or a lease option that will be burdened on our maintenance and operations. It's allocated directly out of your INS, your debt service fund, and that will get you better interest rates. My concern is not the need for the vehicles, is how we spread those out. What we've seen in the past few years, as funding allows, we'll buy 1 or 2 or 3, and then we want it to stop, and so we kind of push it off one year and then we push it off another year and then it builds up to where you have the majority of your fleet is now out of warranty. So we're paying for those costs. The engines we're paying, the transmissions, and we have been. They're down more often with no backup on the warranty side. And now when we go out to buy, we can't just buy one or two, we have to somehow catch up. So if council, wanted to do one or two, then likely we would be back next year with one or two more and one or two more. So if we do leasing options and we start stacking leasing options on top of options, we haven't paid the old one off, we're still paying on a new one. It's hard to catch up that way. My recommendation to Chief Smith was, if we're going to do this, if we're going to present to council something that's viable, whatever that term period, if it's let's say a 4-year note, how many vehicles is it going to take to be good for the next 4 years? We just got 3 with these, and that's why he did present 4, because of the vehicles that we know are not going to last another 4 years. That would be enough to replace all of them, sell them off. We could potentially get several of them, they have over 100,000 miles, 5 to 6, 7 years old. A couple of them are 7. So if we were, still sell those before they, they have a little bit of value. Area school districts around us are looking for them for good deals, or auction them off. Have a little bit of that to go towards paying off that note, and then be locked in with some good solid vehicles for the next 4 years before we're having to discuss it again and still paying on our old note. So,
If I could add something to what Mr. Emerstein was saying, both Crockett ISD and Latexo ISD have reached out to me. They actually asked, hey, how much do y'all want for one of your used vehicles? And I haven't presented them a number yet, because Mr. Emerstein and I haven't got to meet. But I know that both of those school districts are interested in buying one of our used Tahoes. I think they'd be viable for them because they don't put a lot of miles on them. They're just riding around the campus. With that, 2 of the units that we have that are still on patrol, one's at almost 107 miles, and the other one 107,000 miles, and the other one is 115,000. And a lot of that happened because they were being driven just 12, 24, 48 hours in a row, and not getting any relief. So I want to say about a week and a half ago, we were in a situation where all of our marked patrol units were down, and our patrol guys had to drive our administration vehicles or CID vehicles, which are not equipped with radars and not equipped with cameras. So that could be a burden or potential issue, for the officers and for the city. So again, I think what we've presented here would put us in a situation to for the next several years to sustain our fleet.
And more affordable costs.
Now, when you say a tax note, is that, you mean in raising the taxes, or what are you saying?
So a tax note, a lease option, whatever that amount is for the vehicles, whatever that note, annual note is going to be for the next 4 years, it will either come out of our maintenance and operations budget or our INS, our debt service budget. Either one will require an adequate tax to cover that note, debt service or maintenance and operations, for 4 vehicles for 4 years. And I did put that together. I apologize, I did not bring that in here. I put a report together on that, and I can go get it if council wants it. But it's right at 1.7 cents, somewhere around $19 a year is what it adds up to be to pay that amount of a note. For the average home, If we do 3 years, it was right at $20. If we drop it down to spread it out over 4 or 5 years, then it's down as low as $12 to $15 a year per average home to pay for 4 vehicles.
Is there a, do they, the manufacturers, I guess it's, would be Chrysler, do they offer any kind of special warranty to a city when they purchase?
So on patrol or fleet vehicles, they don't offer extended warranties. They offer the general 3-year.
30.
I think most of them are 3-year. They don't do the mileage. It's strictly
Just 3,
3 years.
okay.
Which has come in handy for one of our Tahoes. I don't know if it's just been a bad vehicle, but we just put the second brand new engine in it. The first one they put in it, they made some mistakes, and about 2 weeks later, we were taking it back to them, and it had just went through its warranty, but luckily, because it was something that they messed up on, GM put another brand new engine in it.
So, is there any entity out there that offers extended warranties?
I'm not
That-
100% sure
yeah.
on that, but I can find out.
But I was just thinking, I mean, I bought them before when I purchased a vehicle for 100,000. You was talking about some of these cars having 106 and 110, and you've already had to do, some expensive mechanic work on. I was just curious. That might be something, to look into. If I know that those extended warranties cost money, but as much as y'all have them on the streets,
They said, from past experience, the best extended warranty is from the company. If it doesn't come from the company, they're fooling you.
I know, but I'm saying when you purchase them,
Yeah, that's where, if you're gonna get the best deal, it'll have to come from
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, when they talk all that other stuff, it's just
No.
conversation. But I see where you're going. The plan is just to not put notes on top of notes.
Sure.
And never paying them off. John's gonna bring. Yeah, maybe put it together.
There's no other way we can find this. We just did a really big increase in taxes last year, or year before,
The year before last.
year before last.
Most of, like, the way our budget's set right now, it's services and operations are directly tied to the budgeted numbers. We can always, there's always cuts that we can look at if we're cutting a service or an employee or a position. But other than that, as far as additional funds being
Generated.
that could be applied to this, I don't, like I said, some of it could be trade-in values to cover, say, a year's note would probably be enough, roughly. That's just an estimation that it would cover 1 year. Your other option, if council's not ready to make a decision, is just as we approach years in and we know how our
Looks like.
finances are, but you got about a 6-month wait probably on vehicles.
And those are for 2023s. Once they're gone, then we'll be looking at purchasing 2024s.
The 2024s, what expected increase, the inflation between 23s and 24s is going, the last time we looked at it was going to be more than what the interest rates are that we're paying on it, so you're almost going to pay for it regardless.
That's one reason we decided to stick with the Dodge Durangos, because the Tahoes, you can't even get in the order bank until the third quarter of 2024. And that's when you can get in the order bank, and we probably wouldn't receive them until the middle of 2025.
So what do we do?
If we can do whatever without raising taxes.
So you say, how far can we go before we can, I mean, what is the pushing the time limit to the end? You said before you could tell where the budget is going, if there's anything gonna be left, or is it all consumed?
I wouldn't feel comfortable making a projection until we're at least in our, third quarter to know how expenses are. I know everything has hit us really quickly off the bat this first quarter, before we really even receive revenues for year-end tax revenues or anything. We've been.
Yeah.
Do we know if our appraisal district counted in the
Yes.
election? Did they count in for the deductions?
My understanding is they counted in for the deductions, and if it does not pass, if the propositions are not passed, then they will refund the.
So they did count in, just in case it happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
That was my understanding. That's what I've been reading in their emails that they sent out. And we did get a pretty good amount out of that proposition, that a lot of elderly seniors,
Oh, it's gonna be great.
but majority of it's on the school district's tax. That's the school district's side of the tax rate.
Okay,
And there's no kind of grant we can reach out for.
A grant?
No type of grants we could.
So the grant pool has dried up a whole lot over the last
Okay.
couple of years. Matter of fact, the last CID vehicle we got on a victim's assistance grant, and that was one of the last ones given out for vehicles. They started shying away from giving grant money for vehicles, like interoperable communication, radios, things of that nature. They feel that that's incumbent upon the city government to handle. That's their reasoning. I don't know if they understand the financial burden of that. So I have not found a grant. The only grant that's out there that's available is the Operation Lone Star grant, which you have to be a bordering or a county bordering a border town, and we don't fall into that category. That's where a lot of the state grant money is going right now, is to Operation Lone Star.
Well, let's just flip that coin over and just say we rocked on just like we were going with the vehicles and everything. And didn't you say that just a couple of weeks ago that all of them were down, or?
That's, about a week and a half ago,
Yeah.
all of our marked patrol units were down, so they were having to drive our
Yeah, okay.
vehicles, the black vehicles with no
So-
driver. Something else that just to consider on that, the longer we do wait, the more miles we put on the brand new units that we have, and because they're gonna
Life
be getting driven
expectancy.
over and over and over, kind of like the situation we're in now. So there's, without that number of vehicles to space out those shifts for the vehicles, you're gonna put a lot of wear and tear on them.
How many total units, Chief, do you have?
I'm sorry.
How many total units do you have?
So we've currently got, with the new Dodge Durangos, we've got 6.
This include the 3 new ones that you,
We've got 7 marked patrol units. 2 out of those 7 are the ones with well over 100,000 miles. And the other one is the K-9 unit. It's a take-home unit for the K-9. So we've got 7 marked patrol units, and then we have 2 that are unmarked, the 2 black Tahoes that we have. That one's a victim transport / criminal investigation vehicle, and the other one is another vehicle that I think we actually got it from the fire department.
these 6 include the new ones?
Sir,
The 6 that you mentioned include the new Tahoes that you,
that's correct.
Could we do 2 and not raise taxes, and then next year see where we're at the end of the year, and then do 2 more next year?
I know on a tax note side, the cost to put together a tax note requires AG, bond counsel, and financial advisor. So if we did it like that, it
If we
would be,
did 2, though, we might not need a tax note.
Right.
We could go 2.
right, if we did it that way, then we wouldn't be looking at a tax note. It would be too small of an amount to even require financial.
I mean,
The cost to set the tax note up would be more than the interest rates
I'm saying.
saved.
stay away from the tax note.
What would 2 actually be?
Well, if, this is based on, we had one bank, or we had government capital send us one, and they are typically on the higher side. Usually what they do is they work with governments on leasing programs and then sell that lease to a bank, and they'll let a bank buy it out, and they'll take a couple points of a percentage and sell the rest of the note off. So usually they're on the high side, and a 3-year term is $94,500 in an annual payment. So basically, if you did 2, it would be half of that. A 4-year term would be $72,000, and a 5-year term is $60,000.
What do we have in what is it, Arbor Fund?
We have, that's the revenue that we bought the other 3 that we just bought.
What do we got left in there? No.
I don't have it
Off the
here.
top of your head. Could we do this? Could we buy could we take some of that money and buy a CD and borrow off of that CD? That way our interest is not as high. It's only 2% over prime.
I don't know.
And then we still have that money.
Right. I'd have to get a legal opinion on that. It might be possible. I know that the funds need to be expended though by the end of 2025.
Okay.
We had the initial amounts of items that council approved to spend those funds, but there are some remaining funds there. Like I said, we did do the 3 Tahoes out of that
But
fund.
if we put that, if we bought a CD and then borrowed against it for 2, and then we might be able to pay them off by 2025. Depending on what we look like at the end of the year. And then you're only paying a little bit of interest instead of.
Right now, there's, in total, ARPA funds available is 1.585 million, and council has allocated 1.240 million in already approved, items.
So we got what left?
That's going to be roughly $240,000. thousand that's not allocated towards it.
Just take a portion of that and buy a CD and borrow against it. Then you're not paying that high interest.
Well, so
What-
when we're
And
talking about in
next year
terms
we-
of, I understand what Mike was saying in terms of we're borrowing from yourself and paying off the interest at, so how many were we talking about if you, at that,
Two?
you,
Four total.
so you
Four
went back,
total,
yeah,
2 this year, and we'll look
and look
at the end of
again.
the year and
So we're
see if
back
we
to
can pay
the
it off and then
2
do
a time.
2 more on that same CD.
So is that something that council would like for John to explore? Bring us some numbers, play with them, see what it is, and similar to what you did with this. Even though,
It may or may not make sense, but the way I see it, we're in a sort of a spiral of financing these vehicles and keeping our fleet up to par. Why is it we can't just set up an account in our budget where we can make deposit to take care of these items, especially these large purchases like this?
I think.
That's been my recommendation each budget workshop, is that we have a depreciation account, things that we know that have an expendable life. We already know
Yeah.
that those
Yeah.
vehicles won't last forever, that you set aside money, that way it can be replaced. However, each year,
We're behind.
we're looking at the revenue cap of taxes, and we have just something as small as a health insurance increase or
And it takes,
fuel cost increase or oil, and we look at it and we're like, well, do we continue the services and kind of, it's just, but yes, a depreciation budget is highly recommended in all best practices situations, but ultimately,
gotta get ahead.
you look
Yeah,
at
we
what
could
you're
just
going
set
to
up an account to
prioritize.
where we can get one a year. I mean, I don't know if that would work or not, but
With 9 vehicles,
It'll be,
it's roughly, you should be looking at about 2 every year
yeah.
and be consistent at it.
yeah.
to keep
And don't take the
moving.
easy way out one year, because it'll be 4 the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but realistically, that would give you about 2 vehicles every 5 years, 4 to 5 years, you know, with a 9-vehicle fleet.
Okay.
And it should be looked at for all departments. Public
Yeah.
Works right now, we have some really old ones there.
Oh, yeah, that's right, you gotta go.
We drag them
across
around
the
town.
Well, I think it's incumbent upon us eventually, now or at some point in the near future, to set up an escrow account and get the cost, at least the average cost of these large ticket items, to what we can make deposits to this account. And understanding budgetary restraints and all of that, you know, but these items are a must for the city to be able to function. in our
I think
police
that's
department.
something, of course, that doesn't help us tonight. But,
No.
you know, rather than like someone said earlier about kicking the can down the road, we need to maybe start trying to, I mean, you know, address this, the situation we got right now, but try to figure out something. We don't have to face this, you know.
But isn't that what we work ourselves through in our budget workshops?
Each budget workshop, it's.
Yeah,
I
It's
mean,
discussed.
that's
Well-
where you get the
Yeah.
group.
well,
I mean, that's where you really get to look at everything in this,
I guess we're gonna have to do something more than discuss.
yeah.
Yeah,
whatever.
we're gonna have to.
I mean, because the thing of it is, of course, everything costs money and everything is going up.
Oh, yeah.
So what on the taking money from there and buying a CD, you need to check with the attorney?
Yes.
So what do we need to do?
I know the basic scope of those funds, they can be used towards government operations. So if it's a government
Well, we just bought
program or project, right?
We just bought 3 Tahoes with
Right.
it, so it's government.
So as long as it's going towards that, as far as the CD side, I'd have to look at the,
I mean, it's still
You
our
would
money.
have to write- but
It's
you
still
have-
our money, we just moved it and
But
put it in the bank.
It would still have to be
It has to be
designated
expended.
for that particular thing, though.
and the scope of the period of performance is the end of 2025. So within the next 2 years, it has to be fully expended. So as long as those terms are met, I could at least take it to our legal for a recommendation.
Okay, well, we
I
appreciate
mean, we'll
the
get a better
suggestion.
interest rate, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I do it all the time.
Obviously, I mean, this is an area, you know, with our police department and everything that we need to, like,
I agree.
I would,
focus upon and not have to
Yeah.
figure
I'm
out
just-
all the time. Yeah,
I'm just
I
trying
know.
to find a better way to get
Right,
it.
right, absolutely.
Instead of raising
I'm in a-
taxes.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
I mean,
each time there's been some innovative things done, but
But
just
can we
not
do
enough.
that? Can
Well,
we?
But that's why he said he would get a
Yeah.
legal,
Yeah.
and that's the last of that funding.
being this isn't a business agenda item, I would like to get a nod of approval from council. Are we going to go out for 2 or 4? And do you give me the ability, do
Well,
you give me the
okay.
direction to go out and seek financing options to,
okay, so you said we had 200, a little over 200,000 left there? Is that allocated for anything?
not yet, no, sir.
Okay, so do 4, and whatever the vehicles cost, take that money and buy a CD with it. If that's possible with the attorney. 4 vehicles is not gonna cost over 200. Over 200.
It will.
248,702 to be exact.
It just so happens to be 248,000.
for four-
With us,
four
with us
vehicles.
doing the install of the equipment.
What was that figure again, Chief?
$248,702.21.
And that's with,
And what do we have left?
I would have to get a more update to be sure that I'm giving you correct numbers. That's an
Or
average.
do 3. Do 3 and see where we're at. I mean,
okay, so
Big
can we
three
get the
and-
guidance, give
as long as we
permission?
can cover it with, and that way we're not paying a higher interest.
Okay, so right now, can somebody kind of because it wasn't an agenda, and I think it was just to give John permission to.
I'll make a motion, we give John the guidance to go and see from the attorney if we can do this and maybe purchase 3 and put the funds towards the CD. Take it.
Even the format that can be, the acceptable format that it can be addressed. And that
Agree.
way we don't have to go
And
into
he
the
can bring it back
detail.
to us at another councilman
Yeah,
At
meeting.
the very next meeting, so there's no time delay.
yeah, fast as we can, but we have to,
I second that motion, giving him, our administrator, authority to seek out, the possibilities of getting the financing. So,
And look at other
Oh, it's-
options too.
oh,
I mean,
it's-
look at
it's-
other options.
still a motion. Oh, so do we want to,
What's the vote now?
no, I said, but he added another part
And
to
seek
it.
off, and
And
seek
seek-
Seek
financing.
other
yeah.
options
That's what I
Duplicating what Mr. Jackson-
Yeah.
Okay, so. You wanna
Second
restate
that.
it?
Without raising taxes.
Did
Can
you
you
second
do-
that?
I know,
Ernest?
I was just saying, was it all covered? Y'all got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's,
I already made a second.
yeah, to include everything. Okay, it's been moved and second, all in favor? Okay, motion carries.
Okay.
Okay. It won't be for
All right,
tonight,
Chief.
but maybe tomorrow. Okay. like I said, I lost my way. Okay, that brings us, okay, that was,
Six. Number 6.
to item 6. Consider and approve removing paid administrative leave status of Crockett Economic Industrial Development Corporation Administrative Assistant. Okay, up for discussion?
Mayor, Council, I would like to table this, please, until we know further on the investigation. Nothing's been actually brought to us until something's brought to us.
I second that
I would
motion.
like to table it, please.
Okay, it's been moved and second, all in favor? Okay, it would be tabled. Okay, item number 7. Consider and approve payment of invoices from Crockett Economic and Industrial Development Corporation.
I make a
Everyone-
motion that we approve payment of the invoices from Crockett Economic and Industrial Development.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and second, all in favor? Motion carries. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's it. I don't have to sign these.
My ear. I think girl didn't eat her lunch.